Alrighty, I'm going to do a short video here about embedding images in a Word document. Um, First things first, I just pulled up a random um, Word document, sort of, that was just something I'd pre-written a couple years ago. And I'm probably going to have to stop and start the screen share a couple times as I work. Okay, let's do that screen share. Let's get that document up here. Where's it at? There we go. Share. All right. Again, this is something I wrote when I was the poetry editor for a literary magazine called Second Church a few years ago. This is about Ernest Hemingway as a poet or not. So this is what I've got to work with. Now first thing I'm gonna do is put an image in here. When I do image searches, I frequently save several images to my computer so I don't have to go back and search for them later. I usually pick up more than one image because I'm not exactly sure what I want all the time. Today I picked out a very famous image of Hemingway, and then because I wanted people to look at him in a new way, I did some photo manipulation of it. Now, there's a couple paragraphs here. One is Hemingway as we know him for his fiction writing, and then the other is the way that most people don't know him as a poet. Most people don't know him as a poet because his poetry sucks, in my personal opinion. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put my altered picture in between these two paragraphs. So I'm going to put my cursor at the end of that paragraph, and then I'm going to add a space to put my picture. I'm going to come up here to the top. I'm going to put my cursor in the center. I'm going to center my picture. And now I'm going to go to the insert menu up here, again at the top. Looks like my computer's lagging a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to click on pictures. And again, I save these to my own computer as a matter of convenience so that I don't always have to go looking. So I'm going to pick this device, and it's going to call up my pictures file, which is indeed where I stash these things. One thing I do when I'm saving pictures is I always include the source as part of the file name. So we're gonna zoom down here to, all right, here's the original picture, and it says it's from pixie.org. All right, again, it's part of the file name you can see there, but that's not the one I wanted. I did some 2 steps of digital manipulation, first to this, then to this. This is the one I want. So I'm gonna double click on that, and it will import it into this Word document. And of course, it's huge. So it drove it down to the next page. First thing I want to do is make it fit on the page I'm on. There we go. Still, it's really big. Don't want it to take up that much space. So I shrink it down some more. And now there's a lot of white space here. Okay. There are a couple things I might do to try and correct this. Notice this little box over here. This is layout options, and it says choose how your object interacts with the text around it. And if I click on that, I see that the default mode is something called inline with text. That means that wherever I put my cursor, it's going to appear in that line. Now I added an extra line, which means that I'm very limited in the number of things I can do with this. Um, when I clicked off of the image, it went back here to the home tab, and I can move the picture left, I can move the picture right, and I can put the picture in the center, and that's about it. Okay. If I had put it in a line of text, I could do essentially the same thing with it, and it would move that line of text around the picture a little bit. But that's about it when you're in that mode. So if I click on the picture again, I get that little box back up. And let's take a look at some of these other options. A square. Okay, what this does is it produces a square box around my picture. I'm going to close that so that we can see my picture's in the center. As soon as I change that, notice I no longer have move options, but I can drag it around and it creates that square box. When it's in the center, I never recommend putting a picture in the center because this becomes very hard to read. Neither is his appeal as poet. Yes, in case you didn't know, Hemingway wrote poems too. That's very disconcerting as a reader to have to find the beginnings and ends of lines all the time. Okay, it just doesn't work as well. Now I can move this off to the side. Okay, I can move it to this side. I can move it to this side. Okay, this is actually working pretty well. I can move it up. I can move it down. Okay, this is one of the options where you can do that. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go with tight. And what this does is it kind of eliminates that square box that it contain that it made around the image. I can still do the same stuff with it. I can move it all over. I can move it wherever I want it to be. But again, you know, now it's a little different. Okay. One thing that I happened to notice just now, remember that extra space I put in there? It's still there. I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, so now I've got my typical paragraph spacing for this document, and I've got my picture off here on the side. Let's try a couple more of these options as long as we're here. This one is through. And again, what that does is it allows the text to read through the picture to create columns. Um, Not sure again, I'm really not fond of that. I'm not sure exactly what the differences are between these, but other than the square box, I know creates a little extra border around the picture, whereas tight moves it, moves the text right up close. Through apparently is the same. This one is top and bottom. It always, no matter where you move the picture, the text ends above and below it. And again, that creates all this white space, which I really dislike. It seems like a waste. Behind the text, now the text goes over the top of my picture, and obviously, this might work better with some pictures than others. I can also fade this picture before I use it. If I click on this picture, I think I go to um, well, I'm not going to take the time for this video. This is already going to be 20 minutes long. We don't want to take the time to do that. Through is obviously not a great option for us, or behind. And on top of is even worse. It completely covers up the text. You couldn't even begin to read that. I'm going to go back to tight because it takes up the least amount of space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up. And what I'm seeing here, this is the paragraph about Hemingway as a fiction writer, and this is the paragraph about him as a poet. And here, this image is acting as a kind of transitional element, tying those two things together and showing us Hemingway in a way that most people aren't used to seeing him. And I kind of like this because what has happened is I've got a line of text in the paragraph and then the last line of text down here under the picture, kind of framing it. I might try and move it down just a little bit more so that that creates more of a frame. I do need to pay attention to the left margin up here. This is where my margin is at up here on this toolbar. Because if I wanted to print this and it was outside the margins, I'd lose part of my picture. So I want to be sure and respect that margin there. A couple things that we need to do, and they are not associated with that, but if you right click on the picture, you get yet another drop down menu. It gives you some options here. Bring it to the front, bring it to the back. Because it's not above or behind the text, it doesn't matter. I could link it to something. I can insert a caption, and I'm going to do this in a minute. Okay, but first I'm going to go down to edit alt text. And alt text is what happens when you hover your cursor over a picture. And this is to help sight impaired people know what a picture is about. And of course, it's got description automatically generated, a picture containing colorful graffiti drawing painted. Well, that's not especially descriptive, but the fact is this picture is essentially decorative. And when I pick this mark as decorative box, then it just says content marked as decorative will not expose a description to screen readers. Instead, what they get is a little piece of text that says this description, this picture is decorative, and they know that they can then ignore that. Not all of you probably are worried about communicating with the sight impaired, but in many jobs, you should, in fact, be concerned about that. It is something that I have to do with all my documents, right? Because I might have a sight impaired student at some point. So whenever I put in an image, I have to set the alternate text. I'm going to go back and right click on the image again. And now I'm going to go down to insert a caption. What we have here is in fact a figure. There are some other options, equation, table. It is neither of those. So we're going to stick with figure. I would like my caption to appear below the picture. All right. And the reason I need a caption is because we have to identify our sources. And my cat's being a pain in the ass. So I need to identify the source of this picture. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to put in original picture from pixie.org. Okay, and then I'm going to put in digitally manipulated by Alvin Knox using Deep Dream Generator, which is obviously a photo manipulation application. Okay, so I'm going to go. Oops, I didn't need that enter apparently. All I have to do is move away. Whoops, why didn't it work? Okay, hold it. Let me try that again. Insert caption. Figure two. Oh, I forgot to press. I was working in the wrong box. Figure two. This is not figure two, but okay. Cancel. I'm going to go back to figure one. Actually, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to type in the box here. I was typing in the wrong box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it in this box. There we go. Now I can get out of here. Yeah, this shows me what it says. I should have been typing in a different box. I'm going to actually edit that a little bit more. I'm going to put a period after figure one and add a space. Okay, but notice that it automatically makes it the same size as my picture. Something strange has happened here. It's added a little part of a space and kind of moved things down. I'm going to attempt to manipulate the size of my picture to eliminate that. Okay, and notice it messed it up even more. Okay, I liked it better the way it was before. So I'm going to stretch it back out. All right. Again, this drops down below that line, so it added another space. What I would have to do, and I guess I can do it, I can manipulate my picture size. It added a little funky space here. Manipulate my picture size, move my picture up. Notice when I move my picture, it does not move this, but I can click on this and move it up. Okay. So now I've got a little less space there. And I've got my picture, I'm inside my margins, I've got my caption that says where it's from. I could actually, because I changed my picture size, I can move that over so it's lined up a little better under the picture. Okay, good stuff. Again, I kind of like the way that this line and this bottom link kind of tie that into these two paragraphs. So that's what I do for my picture. Okay, I've identified my source in a caption. That's the important part. Okay, now something I'm I wouldn't do, I mean, I wouldn't do this to this anyway. Okay. I might include the picture as it is, but um, I would never do what I'm about to do. But oh man, really changed some spacing here when I did that. I'm not going to mess with it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to the bottom of my document, and I've already apparently got this, and I'm going to center up, and I'm going to go back to the insert menu, and I'm going to put some video in here. And notice here on the insert menu, you got this media, online video, but mine is grayed out. Okay, I'm working, this document is old. Okay, it's probably a .doc file instead of a docx. So before I can use this button, I need to go to file. Okay, I'm being slow. Whoops, and I double clicked on it because my cat's helping me. I'm going to go to info, and it says I'm in compatibility mode. Uh, I am in fact using a, for God's sake. Okay, there goes the cat, the hard way. Um, it is in fact an old document. This shows me that. So I click on the convert button, and it's going to give me a little thing here that says that it's going to upgrade me to the newest file format. Fine. Now I'm back in the insert menu, and now I can click on this, insert online video. And there is a way to insert video off your computer. It's a little more convoluted. You can find instructions for it on the internet if you want to. But the easy thing to do, of course, for most of us, we find our videos online, we just get them online. So I'm going to click on this. It says to enter the URL or embed code for the online video. I'm going to stop this screen share, and I'm going to take you to YouTube next, where I found a little short Hemingway biography earlier. Okay. Now it said I can either enter the URL or an embed code. So all I would have to do is copy this URL. Okay, that's one way to do it. Some programs don't let you use a URL. You have to have an embed code. So I want to show you real quick where that's at. You go down here to share, and you click on that. And I hope you can see this because it's a pop-up window. There are some icons here of where you want to share. The first one says embed. You click on that, and then you get embed video, and there is this code here that starts with a greater than, less than symbol, actually a less than symbol, and it ends with a greater than symbol. But this is the embed code, and you can either highlight it and copy it, or you can just press copy. Okay, so it says link copied to clipboard down in the corner of my screen. So now I'm going to stop screen sharing again. I'm going to go back to my Word document. Okay, and here where it says enter the URL or embed code, I'm going to paste my embed code and hit insert. And sure enough, there's my biography video of Hemingway. Now, again, notice that is so large that it drove it onto the next page, and I really don't want that. So I'm going to shrink it down. I'm going to shrink it down some more, and it still won't go up to that other page. Finally, but now it's so small that you can't see it, right? So that didn't work so well. But what I'm going to do, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I need to go escape. Somewhere here is this option, paste options. Where's my wrap text option at? I'm going to put this back on. Well, I'm going to put a square around this one. Okay. And then I can move it. Oh, I keep clicking on the play button instead of just dragging. I have to hit the escape button to get out of that. I'm going to avoid the play button in the center. I'm going to move this up a little ways, and then I'm going to go back to the corner and make it big enough to see. Okay, and I'm gonna pull it down, down, down. And now I've got it so big that I drove a tiny bit of text onto the next page. Don't want that. So I'm gonna shrink it back down a little bit. Okay, there's all the text. Now, because I really don't like the way that's looking, I'm gonna pull this down so that all my text is here. I've got to move it over and get it back inside the margins, although video isn't going to print no matter what. But I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit. There's the rest of my text again. I'm going to pull this down. Oh, I lost the end of my text again. And it's getting pretty small. There we go. Okay, now I've got my video here, the end of my paragraph here. If I go down here, I can back up, get rid of that blank page at the bottom. Actually, I should back up until I'm free of extra spaces as well. It's part of an accessible document, again, for various um, learning impaired or physically impaired folks that use text readers. Okay, but now I've got my video in here. And maybe if I hadn't had that square box around it, I might have been able to, let's try it. Okay, I'm gonna right click on this. I'm gonna get my text wrap box back and I'm gonna go to tight. And I'm gonna see if the little bit of extra space that generated, no, really it didn't. I still need it to be that small. It is looking pretty visible, however. All right, and if I just click on the play button, it'll play. It pulls up a little pop-up window. I didn't know if you saw it when again, because it's a pop-up window, I'm not sure what you see. But for now, that's how you get a video in. That's how you get an image in. That's how you would play with the text wrap so that you can make it go where you want it to go. And again, I would definitely avoid putting anything in the center of text because it's so hard to read around. Okay. But that's it. That is the extent of today's video. So I'm going to stop the share. You know, Word's a pretty powerful tool. Take advantage of it because images and video is so incredibly powerful and is used so much in our world today that you really should know how to use these tools.